Ever get that feeling, like when you're chasing after the next big thing, that maybe we're kind of missing what really matters? That's what we're diving into today. And get this, the inspiration comes from a speech way back in 1973. It's called The Worth of Souls is Great by this guy, Paul H. Dunn. Now, before you think, oh no, not another history lesson, trust me on this one. Dunn's message, it's about finding that balance between progress and, individual needs. And it's crazy how relevant it still is. Like even 50 years later, he starts off by painting this picture in your mind. A one-room schoolhouse, you know the kind. Charming as heck, kids of all ages learning together. Can you imagine that sense of community? But then bam, progress hits. Literally. A brand new highway cuts right through. And suddenly everyone's talking about bigger schools, educational advantages, all those buzzwords we still hear today, and that little schoolhouse. Well, you could probably guess what happened to it.
It's amazing, right? How that story just kind of resonates across generations. This pull we feel between what's familiar and the allure of something supposedly better.
Right. It really makes you wonder, what did they think they were gaining? And on the flip side, what did they end up losing?
What's really clever here is how Dunn uses this story as an analogy for what was happening within the LDS Church back then. They were going through a period of massive growth, lots of changes, new programs popping up everywhere. Sound familiar?
Like those parents all excited about the upgraded school. Maybe some church members were thinking the same thing. Like, is bigger always better?
Exactly. And what Dunn does so brilliantly is he doesn't just dismiss those desires for progress. He's not saying stop everything new. But he does throw in this word of caution.
Okay, now I'm hooked. What does he say?
He really emphasizes how these programs, these initiatives, they're just tools at the end of the day, the real measure of their success. It's not about how complex they are or how shiny and new they seem. It's about how well they actually serve the people they're meant for.
So it's not about rejecting progress altogether. It's about remembering the why behind it all.
Exactly. He even uses this phrase, putting spirit back into the letter of the law. It's almost like he's saying, look, don't get so caught up in the mechanics of a program that you forget about the actual human beings it's supposed to be helping.
And that's where this whole idea of people over programs comes in, right? But how do we actually do that, in our own lives? It's easy to say, but what does it really look like in practice?
Well, Dunn actually tells this story to kind of illustrate this point. Picture this. He's literally about to head to court to fight for this property, a new building for a church education program.
Talk about putting spirit into the letter of the law, right? He must have been so passionate about that project.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
This wasn't just paperwork to him. This was about creating opportunities for these young people. But just as he's about to walk out the door, a student walks into his office, needing his time, needing his attention.
Oh, man. I can see the dilemma unfolding already. The program versus the person right there in his office.
Exactly. And you got to remember, this wasn't a scheduled thing. This was a total interruption. Dunn could have so easily said, sorry, got to run big court date, got to take care of this building project, something that seemed objectively more important at that moment.
Yeah. But he didn't, though, did he? He chose to be present right there with that student.
He did. They ended up talking for a long time. And you can just tell from the way Dunn tells the story how much that conversation meant to both of them. And what's even more interesting, they actually ended up losing the legal battle for that property.
Wow. Talk about a test of his own message, right? What did he say about that, looking back?
He framed it as a victory. Because in his own words, we saved the boy. And that's what mattered more. It's such a powerful reminder that sometimes the most impactful work we do, it's not about checking things off a to-do list or hitting some big objective. It's about those one-on-one moments of genuine human connection.
Okay, that story gave me chills. It really makes you think about where you're putting your own focus right. I mean, haven't we all had those moments where we're so caught up in the doing that we totally miss the opportunity to connect with someone?
Yeah.
Right there in front of us.
All the time. And think about a time when you felt truly seen, truly valued, especially within a larger organization. What made that experience so impactful? Was it a specific program? Or was it the way someone treated you? That feeling that you mattered as an individual?
That's such a good point. I bet if we really thought about it, those moments that stand out, the ones that made us feel valued, it probably wasn't about the latest initiative or some super efficient system. It was about that human connection, someone taking the time, going beyond just the letter of the law to really see us.
Precisely. And then on the flip side, I'm sure we've all had the opposite experience too, that feeling of being just a number in the system. What happens then? We feel disconnected, unheard, and that impacts everything from our motivation to our sense of belonging.
Which ultimately affects how well those systems actually work.
Right.
It's like we can have the most amazing schoolhouse in the world, but if the students don't feel seen and valued by their teachers, are they really getting an education? Are they really thriving? It's almost like that saying, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, and that care.
Yeah.
It usually shows up not in some big grand gesture, but in those small everyday moments.
Absolutely. It's about bringing that awareness,
Yeah.
that intentionality
Yeah.
to every interaction, big or small, whether it's with your family, your coworkers, or even just someone you bump into at the grocery store.
So we've talked about Dunn's message, that powerful story about the schoolhouse, even his own personal struggle to really walk the walk. But what does this all mean for our listeners, right here, right now?
Right?
What's the takeaway?
I think Dunn gives us a sort of roadmap, a way to navigate that tension between progress and individual needs. Because they don't have to be at odds with each other. In fact, when we find that balance, they can actually strengthen each other.
It's about being open to innovation and new ideas, but never losing sight of that human element, without forgetting that at the heart of all this progress are people.
Exactly. And it's not like a one-time thing either. It's an ongoing practice. Checking our motivations, asking ourselves with each decision, each interaction, am I really putting the person first?
Yeah. It's so easy to get caught up in that hustle, doing the achieving,
Yeah.
always striving for more, whatever that looks like for each of us. But maybe that's where we trip ourselves up.
It's the efficiency trap. We streamline, we automate, we optimize. And sometimes without even realizing it, we lose a little bit of our humanity along the way.
Which is kind of ironic when you think about it, because
Yeah.
then those systems we built, those programs we were so proud of, they stopped working as well.
Right, because at the end of the day, nobody wants to feel like just another cog in the machine. We want to be seen, heard, valued for who we are, and that desire, that need for genuine connection. It goes beyond time and cultures, even belief systems. It's universal.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, here's a little something to think about. As you go through your week, I challenge you to notice those moments where you have a choice. Stick to the program or choose the person. Maybe it's putting your phone down for a few minutes to really listen to someone, or offering a genuine compliment, just taking that extra moment to connect. How might that shift your interactions, even in small ways?
And maybe even more importantly, how might it change the way you feel? Because there's a certain kind of fulfillment that comes from choosing connection, from making someone feel seen and valued.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And on that note, we'll leave you to ponder Dunn's timeless message. Until next time, keep diving deep, keep asking questions, and keep choosing people.